Well, today is the first Sunday in February, February being a month that we often think of as the Love Month. And so the themes around this month will have to do a little bit with love. And what I'd like to talk about mostly today is the idea of loving our church and the way that that shows up for us. And loving our church is part of loving our God and who we believe in God. So this is also, I believe, Super Bowl Sunday. So loving life, what can I say? And I imagine a lot of us are voting for and our hopes that the Panthers will be winning. And I imagine there's probably still a couple of Bronx fans out there. So we won't say anything about them either. But we just know it's a good time to get together and have fun over a sport. Well, you know, sometimes people think of church as sport too. And sometimes they don't, and sometimes they just think of church as this is what I should do because this is what I was told to do in the beginning. I started out as a child coming to church. My parents took me to church, and so I do that. And I might not even be sure of what I believe in and why I believe in it, but I'm here, and so I try to love it. Well, today I really want to talk about the idea of committing, and not committing because somebody tells you to commit, but committing because it is your authentic self who is walking the walk and learning the role. So today's talk actually comes from the love chapter, which is 1 Corinthians 13. And it comes from verse 13, which says, "And now faith, hope, and love abide, these three, and the greatest of these is love." So we come to church, then we come to believe in what we believe of as our spirituality, and then we come to awaken, and then we come to believe. So this is what I think of as church. It's an umbrella. It's a place where we can come together and be under the umbrella of spiritual love. So there is this thing in 12-step, anybody who's familiar with 12-step knows that the first 3 steps in 12-step go, the short version, I come to believe, I come to, and I come to believe. And so when I think of that and the idea of faith, hope, and love, I think of the idea as when I come, I'm just here. I come for the message, I come to listen, I come to see if what is being said in this particular church under this particular umbrella, if it resonates with me. And then I come to. I begin to awaken when I'm in a place where I feel that resonating, whether it is from the message or whether it is from the community, because church is a community. We are not this building here. We have a building, but we are this community of Christ. We come together with a specific mission and purpose in the way that we worship and in the way that we serve the greater community. And so when I think of the words to the title of this talk, I am willing. In this place of just coming, I bring my ego. I'm here with a lot of questions. I'm here trying to figure out if this is the place for me. Maybe church itself isn't the place for me. Today we have a lot of people who say that they're spiritual and not religious because they think of churches as religious. And they can't quite cross the border yet. Does not mean that they don't believe in their Creator. It just means they have not figured out their community yet. So I come bringing my ego. I come pulled by a vision. I know that I'm in a place that I want to know more of me and I want to know more of life. I'm asking those questions. I'm at the place where I want to make a soul connection. And then I'm like this plant, this little seed deep in the soil. I want to grow. I want to be something more. I've had this implanted in me. It's a plant, it's a seed that's within me that wants to be nourished and wants to grow, and it doesn't know how. You see, Christ talked about the church. Jesus talked about the church, that the church is of Christ. And each of us within ourselves is a church. Each of us is that body of Christ that goes forth. And so, in faith, I come here ready to be opened, to be awakened. I come here as a seed ready to take a sprout. And then I get to the point of I come to, I awaken. I realize, yes, I am the Christed human being. Yes, I do have that divinity within me. Yes, I am loved, not only as a seed, but that love grows who I am. That love makes me want to reach farther, to be more, to be genuine, to be authentic, and not just to be what I think somebody else wants me to be. And for some of that means leaving perhaps the church that we grew up in and finding the truth of who we are, what authentically keeps us awake, makes us feel the Christ of us, makes us want to live the Christ of us. And so we move from that place of faith to hope. See, we move from that place of knowing that there's something out there to be in partnership with. And so in the community that we choose to be in partnership with it. So if we think of this little seedling that we finally realize that we are, then we want to tend this seedling. We want to see this seedling come up and be a huge tree. Just like that little seed of faith becoming the mustard tree. We want to see that happen, so we start to tend it. And we tend it by nurturing, by watering, by fertilizing, by nurturing. And we do this in community because oftentimes on our own we wither. And we need that nurturing of each other. That is the joy of being in a church community. So when I think of the idea of fertilizing, sometimes church can get messy. You know it. Let's face it, you know it. Sometimes there's things that we complain about in church. We go, love one another, and then we go, yeah, but. So-and-so did something, and I didn't like that, you know. Church is messy because church is human. But the idea of being in a committed community, the idea of being where you can get that loving nurturance is that somebody can bring you back into the path. They can pour a little water on your plant and help revive it. They can remind you that you're thinking in a way that is ego-centered instead of Christ-centered, so that they can lift you up so that you blossom more. So that is what church community does. So we are in relationship in a church community. And being in relationship is give and take. And when we're in that community, we're not only giving and taking with each other, we are giving and taking with our ideas about God, in God, with God, as God. And in that process, we build up even more. We're becoming a tribe. When I first came here, one of the things I said was I was looking for a tribe. And one of the things Jenny said to me when I said yes, she says, oh, you're really going to accept us as your tribe? Yes, this is my tribe. You are my tribe. Now, one of the things that I've heard about different tribes is that there is one tribe that when somebody does something wrong, instead of punishing the individual that does something which is outside the rules of the tribe, what they do is they put them in the center of the tribe, and the whole tribe surrounds them and just loves them back, nourishes them back. What a beautiful, beautiful thought. That is a community, that is a church community, because it is bringing and uplifting the individual to their higher self. So we move from attending, from the hope into that place of love. So we awaken, and now we come to believe. We come to believe that no matter what we're doing out here in a relationship, no matter how messy it looks, no matter how much we have to pull each other back in the fold and uplift them, that we are no longer just I and I am. We're not just saying that we are the Christ. We are now I am willing. We are willing to walk the walk, talk the talk, be the Christ, do what it is to bring us to our highest and our best. This is our higher self. When we get to this point, we are no longer focused on the ego self. We are focused on the greater whole. We are at the place where we are not just being from that point of asking. We're at that place of being, from that place of serving. We are at that place of committing, of loving, serving, being, committing, no matter what. I just finished reading this week, The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself by Michael Singer. And not only does he talk about unconditional love in this book, he talks about unconditional happiness. And he says, once you decide that you want to be unconditionally happy, something will happen that challenges you. This test of your commitment is exactly what stimulates your spiritual growth. You see, when the winds blow, when the water dries up, when you get to that place where you think, I don't want to go to church today because so-and-so might be there, and the last time they didn't smile at me, so they don't like me. When you get to that place, that's your test. Unconditional happiness. Can you be happy no matter what? You see, happiness is an inside job. It's not an outside job. He goes on to say, in fact, it is the unconditional aspect of your commitment that makes the highest path. So when you come to believe, you believe that everything is an inside job. You begin to believe that everything that comes up that looks ugly and messy is here to serve something higher and greater. It's here to say it's time to release that and move to a higher place. You may notice that today we had the blessing for the church. We did not have our mission, vision, and values. And the reason why I say that is because we are moving in a place where some of us are realizing that as we evolve spiritually, as our church community changes, that our mission, vision, and values is also evolving and changing. Just like in your own personal life, what satisfied you where you were on your personal path 10 years ago is no longer what satisfies you now. It is the same with this church. In 2005, that's over 10 years ago, was the last time that the mission and the vision and the goals and the values of this church was determined. It's time. And this spring, we will do that. This spring, we will look at that again, because we are no longer the church that we were 10 years ago. So as we go forward thinking about what we've come to believe and how we've evolved spiritually, I want to look at this idea of faith, hope, and love, of planting, tending, and reaping, and how it looks and how we show up in our church community. Am I willing? What are we willing for? Faith shows up as attendance. We bring our body here. We open our ears. Hope shows up as prayer. We hold in our word and our thought a higher way of being, a way that is even better than it is today. It shows up in our love and how we serve the church, how we serve with the time that we have, with the talents that we bring forth, with the generosity of our giving. I have started a new thing. It just came out in the happenings called Lent and Lunch. It will be on Wednesdays from 11 to 1. Now I want to tell you, I'm going to use Charles Fillmore's book, Keep a True Lent. However, this is an open thing and it's not necessarily a book study. What it is a commitment for those of you who are interested in, number one, a little personal journey in your spiritual evolution, and number two, a little community sharing of what we have together to build ourselves up in our church community. So even if you can't make it to the book study and you can make it to lunch, I said lunch will be at Cracker Barrel right up here on La Grande, and the reason for that, because you might want to join us for lunch, and that way you can be part of community even if you can't be part of study. It is so important to be part of community. It is so important to be willing to be more than who we think we are. Michael Singer also said in his book, what actually gives life meaning is a willingness to live it. It isn't any particular event. It's the willingness to experience life's events. So I ask, are you willing? Are you willing to be committed to unconditional happiness? Are you willing to evolve into a new mission, vision, and goals? Are you willing to be spiritually evolve? To not just hang out where you are now on that plateau. Are you willing? So my challenge this week is to renew your commitment to this church if you are a member. If you're not a member and you come and you still consider this your church, to renew your commitment to this idea of this being your church. And so that challenge is, I am willing to support my church in thought, word, and deed. I am willing to commit to supporting my church in attendance, prayer, and service. I am willing. That's all any of us can be. You see, it is not us. It is the Father within us that does the work. Are you willing? God bless you.